Today, we're talking money. Specifically, how much does it cost to have your book professionally edited? If you intend to publish your book, whether that is through indie or self-publishing or traditional publishing, then editing will be an essential component of your publishing journey because you want to ensure you are putting the strongest version of your story out there. If you are self-editing, it is critical that you do multiple rigorous rounds of edits so the book is high quality and on par with those put out by publishing houses that have editorial teams. If you're querying literary agents, you don't necessarily need to hire an independent editor. But if you aren't getting full manuscript requests, or you just want to make sure the story is as strong as possible before reaching out to literary agents, then working with a pro can really help. But it can be intimidating and confusing to figure out how much of an investment you can expect to make in book editing. So today I'm going to talk about how book editors calculate their rates, what factors go into it, and where you can look online to get a general range of what you can expect to pay for your edit. If you haven't met me yet, I am a professional book editor myself, so I'm definitely tapping into my own expertise and my own process for calculating rates in today's video. If you're new to my channel, every week I either talk about the book publishing industry or I give specific tactical advice for how to strengthen your manuscript. So if any of that interests you, please go ahead and subscribe and join this amazing community. While you're at it, please hit that thumbs up button because it really helps my channel. And I also want to let you know about a free resource I have in the description below. It is called my free story self-assessment worksheet, and it's a fun, simple quiz that helps you apply a fresh set of eyes to your manuscript to figure out what's working well and what could be improved on the next draft. If you have just completed a first draft or a second draft and you haven't yet engaged with an editor, the story self-assessment could be a great step for you to take right now. Signing up for it is going to opt you in to my exclusive newsletter where I interview publishing industry experts and published authors, so you don't want to miss out on any of those amazing insights. If you want to go straight to the newsletter, the link is also in the description below. So let's begin talking about book editing costs by discussing the key factors that go into a book editor's rates. The first is the type of editing that you are seeking. This is by far the biggest determining factor in what the cost is going to be. If someone reaches out to me asking for a quote on how much it will cost to edit their book, the first question I ask is, what type of editing are you looking for? Throughout the publishing process, a manuscript will go through a number of editing rounds, all targeting different aspects of the story. Typically, you would start with an editorial assessment or a manuscript critique. This is a big picture report encompassing overarching feedback on the main story areas: plot, character, pacing, tone, structure, POV, and it is typically delivered as a separate document, almost like a book report, rather than inline edits in the manuscript itself. After the editorial assessment, a manuscript will typically go into developmental editing, which is inline comments and edits in the manuscript itself. This is more for scene level feedback, discussing potentially areas that are lagging in pace or areas to amplify the conflict between characters. Then you will go into a line or a copy edit, which is focusing on the flow of these sentences themselves. Finally, you will go into the proofreading phase, which is fixing grammatical errors and typos. Each of these different service levels has their own price range. For example, the two services that I provide are editorial assessments and developmental edits, but editorial assessments are priced significantly lower because they do not involve inline comments in the manuscript itself, which is extremely time-consuming, especially on a document that is hundreds of pages long. Typically, developmental editing is the priciest service, followed by line or copy editing, and then followed by proofreading. I have a video that goes into the differences between the editorial assessment and the developmental edit services specifically, so if you are ready to work with a book editor but aren't sure which service you need, definitely check that out. The next factor that goes into an editor's rate is the manuscript length. Editors will typically calculate their price based on either the word count of the manuscript or the page count, because this allows them to roughly estimate how long the edit is going to take them. Obviously, a longer manuscript is going to come out to a higher price point than a shorter manuscript, simply because it is more for the editor to review. The next factor that goes into an editor's rates is your needs as an author. Most editors will require a description of your book as well as a sample of the manuscript itself, and they will evaluate it before making their proposal to you. This could potentially affect the rate that they set for your specific project. For example, if you are seeking a copy edit and you submit sample pages to the editor and they notice a large amount of errors in those sample pages, they might quote you at the higher end of their price point because they anticipate they are going to find more errors than usual in the manuscript, and therefore it's going to be more time intensive for them. The final element that goes into an editor's rate is their editorial experience. As in most professions, as an editor gains expertise and gains more credentials in specialty areas, their rates are more likely to go up because they are bringing you more precise expertise and they are likely higher in demand. Each individual editor sets their own rates depending on what they feel their time and expertise is worth. So you will see a range of price points between newer editors who are just starting out in their career and more experienced editors who have a number of high-profile clients or publishing industry credentials. Now I want to talk a little bit about where you can look to get a baseline idea of what your edit might cost. You likely want to get some idea of what editing will cost well in advance of actually signing on with an editor, because it is often a significant investment for writers, especially if you are doing this just as a passion project on the side. So you may want to budget and save up for a professional edit if it is important to you. So the first resource I would direct you to get a general idea of what an editor might cost is Readsy's pricing calculator. Readsy is an online platform that connects authors with book editors and other publishing professionals, and they have a pricing calculator where you can input your genre and your length, and it will tell you, based on all of the data in the Readsy platform itself, what the average rate is from all of the collaborations that have been conducted through Readsy. So that's a good place to get a general idea, especially for your specific genre. There is also a pricing chart online available by the Editorial Freelancers Association that can be very helpful. Though note that this pricing chart was last updated in 2020, so it may be a little bit outdated. As I said before, every editor sets their own rates, so they may or may not be in line with what these pricing calculators or pricing guides give you. That's why it's a good idea to reach out to a handful of editors that you are potentially interested in working with and getting quotes from them. Even if it is early in your process and you're not quite ready to sign yet, that will still give you an idea of what to expect when you are ready for the professional edit. Personally, I publish my rates on my website, so any author reaching out to me has that information up front. If you want some more tips on how to go about finding an editor, I have a whole other video on how to choose an editor for your project, so definitely check that out. I hope this video helped you better understand what to expect to invest in a professional book edit and how editors calculate their rates. Let me know in the comments if you've worked with a book editor, and if you feel comfortable, it would be great to know what you invested and what type of edit you received. I'm all about transparency in this community and helping each other figure out and navigate the publishing process, so if you'd be willing to share, we would love to hear it. If you're not sure if you need a book editor, check out my video where I go into why every author needs a book editor, and you will understand why I think it is an amazing investment in your writing and your career. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget your free resource waiting for you in the description below, as well as the link to my newsletter. Thanks so much for watching, and happy writing.